I'm Ted Berg for SNY.TV, and this is Know Your Enemy, presented by Pepsi Max. Skyping into the studio today is Craig Calcaterra from HardballTalk.com, who joins us to talk about the ultimate enemy. Craig, let's talk about Larry Wayne Jones.
Hold on, I gotta swoon for a second whenever I hear that name because he just sends my heart aflutter.
Why does he get a going-away tour like this?
I think, the real reason I think is because in the age of Brett Favre, we really want to make sure that these guys stay retired. And if you give them a bunch of gifts, you can't possibly come back. Well, maybe you can, but I think if you give him, cowboy hats and bronze bases and things like that, he's got to stay retired.
Surfboards and such. I mean, is there a guarantee he does stay retired and doesn't pull a Brett Favre, like you said? And does he deserve a going-away tour? I mean, he's a great player. No doubt, one of the best players of his generation, but we've seen better players come and go without so much hoopla.
Yeah, I'm sort of torn on this whole thing. The whole going away present thing for me, I've always thought is weird. The first one I remember was Dr. J getting it when he was retiring back in the 80s or whatever. I remember people giving him rocking chairs and things like that, and I thought that was kind of cute. But then I thought we got away from that. I'm not quite sure why Chipper Jones merits that. I guess Jeter will get it too. Maybe it's because he was only with one team the whole time, so the entire National League knows him or something. I don't know why, and I don't know who started it. I think maybe it was the Astros or somebody started it this year. But does he deserve it? I don't know. Anybody deserves that sort of thing. As far as him coming back, I really think he's done. There has been zero indication that he has any desire to come back. He almost retired a couple of years ago, so I think he is done for good.
Where's Mike Piazza's celebratory electric guitar? Where's Greg Maddox's ceremonial abacus,
That's true. I mean, if you're just going on the worthiness of the player, I mean, Chipper Jones, I think is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's not to that level. And I really think it's just all a matter of him always being on one team, and he's sort of the last man standing.
You mentioned always being on one team, and it is the Atlanta Braves, a team that has historically tortured the Mets, especially the Mets of the late 90s and early aughts, sort of Chipper's peak, Chipper's prime. To a Braves fan like yourself, wearing that jersey, do you understand, do you recognize what Chipper's relationship with Mets fans and with the Mets organization means?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's unique for Braves fans, too, because, look, Braves fans, you might not have heard this, we don't have a lot of passion. We don't fill up the ballpark. We don't go crazy for anything unless the scoreboard tells us to do so. So it was really new and novel for us in the late 90s when Mets fans started to have all this Sturm und Drang about Chipper Jones and the Braves coming to town. And we kind of thought that was neat because no one's ever reacted to the Braves that way before. So we kind of get it in this sort of attenuated, almost sort of kind of understand what's going on thing for you crazy, passionate New Yorkers.
So the big question is, what should the Mets give Chipper Jones upon his retirement? I polled Ted Quarters readers. Over 400 people responded. 11% said a spirited tasing. 17% said the deed to Shea Stadium just to make it official. And a whopping 41% said the Mets should give Jason Bay to Chipper Jones upon his retirement. What does a Braves fan think the Mets should give Chipper Jones?
Well, it does seem almost gratuitous that they should give him anything, considering he has taken so much from them over the years. But if they could give him one thing, I think it's a paternity test, because he's so clearly their daddy. They need to make it official.
He named his kid Shea already.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. You guys have just been so used and abused by that. I love that.
I mean, how dedicated does a guy have to be to trolling an entire fan base to name, like, your human legacy? You name your kid Shea. It's not just like a couple of quotes in a newspaper about like, oh, Mets fans, put back on your Yankee gear or whatever. You named your kid Shea.
It is clearly a mammo gesture. He went yickety with that one.
Craig, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Ted.
Remember, for all the latest Mets coverage, be sure to check in at MetsBlog.com, TedQuarters.net, and SNY.TV.